Welcome back to the True Blue Riffcast. I am Jeremy, and I am joined, as always, by...
your favorite guy named Dave, also known as Sugar Ray Dodge. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. You know what? Hang on. I'm going to go get some chili.
Yes, mid-conversation chili.
Mid-conversation chili. Oh, jeez. All right. Well, I blew that bit.
If you're wondering what we're talking about, stay tuned.
Does anything ever become clear on True Blue Riffcast?
No, we have lots of incoherent and unfinished thoughts. Yes. We're not really
going to who we are.
Yes. Hey, like it or leave it, right?
Yep.
We're not really going to get into headlines this week because we have a lot to talk about with our two movies. I will do the box office draw because it's just something I like doing, and it's quick. Number one movie, once again, Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. A close second is the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which I really want to go see. I loved that book when I was a kid, and
never even heard of that movie. I guess I don't pay attention to things because I've never even heard of that.
Third place is The Lion King. Fourth place, Dora and the Lost City of Gold.
My God.
And then number 5, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I finally got around to reading the synopsis for that movie, and takes an interesting twist about halfway through it. But I don't want to spoil it because I don't like spoiling things. But yeah, there's our top 5.
Okay. In light of those top 5, I'm assuming that some people here go to watch the movies in the theater. After listening to that, what the hell is wrong with you people? I mean, what? Like, Dora is number 3? I mean, is there nothing else going on in the movies this summer?
Well, a lot of people that none of them really made a lot of money this weekend either. Like,
oh, wow.
The 5th place movie only got 11 million over the weekend. So,
oh, geez.
And then number 1 was 25, just over 25 million.
Did Hollywood be like, screw this summer?
Well, everybody already spent their money on Endgame. So
Endgame, yeah. And everyone's watching it on DVD while it's still in first-run theaters.
Yes, which is amazing. That's actually in 19th place right now, made $197,000.
While
and you can watch it at home now, and it still made $197,000.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's ridiculous to me. Because at this point, who hasn't seen it in the theater? Who's going to watch it?
Yeah. At this point, yeah, that's dumb. If you're gonna go to see Avengers Endgame, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm gonna go see it at first-run theater. It's still in first-run theaters here in August, whatever the hell day you're listening to this on.
Yeah.
You could be like, oh, well, and you're like the only one in the theater because everybody's at home in the comfort of their own home listening to the DVD commentary track.
Yeah. It's in its 16th week.
That's amazing.
In theaters. So 4 months this movie has been in theaters. It's crazy to me.
Well, I think The Dark Knight was like that too.
Yeah, it's very rare where that actually happens anymore. So enough of that. Let's get right into our VODs for this week. If you recall, both of these were voted on a week ago for our listener poll, and they ended up being tied. So we decided, since the only new release this week was the Star Raiders VOD, which we have already covered
extensively, that
we would just talk about both of them this week. So our first movie is Miami Connection.
Woo! Against the Ninja.
Yeah.
Jeremy,
yes, sir.
Are you pro or against Ninja?
I am against the Ninja, obviously.
You know, I'm going to take the contrarian stance. Me being a contrarian, can you imagine?
No.
I'm going to be pro Ninja. I am for the Ninja.
Of course you are.
Yes, that's right.
This originally broadcast October 1st, 2015, as part of the Crappening, the season that brought us The Room, Sharknado 2, of course, Miami Connection, and the redone version of Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny. Miami Connection had a short beforehand, and this was a pretty good one.
It made quite an impact.
Oh,
Very few shorts these days do that. Make as big. I mean, they all have an impact.
Yeah.
But make like this big of a splash, I guess you could say. It got noticed. It drew people's attention.
Yes. And there's a couple of very good reasons for that.
Yeah.
We're talking about Measuring Man.
Measuring Man.
Yes. And his utility belt full of
wonders.
Cups and rulers and a big sparkly thing that looks like an adult sex toy.
It's a look. Okay, let's just jump right. I mean, there's no nice way to say this. It's a sparkly dildo.
It is.
That's what it is.
It's modeled after Edward from Twilight, and Measuring Man is a story about a little boy who has no idea about any units of measure whatsoever. And he's like 12-ish. So perfect example of the American education system. But his milkman has a secret where he is Measuring Man. And he pops back in and he warps the boy off to Measuring Land. And he measures him up against apples and baseball bats and an elephant and a bunny, and then he materializes ice cream out of nowhere, and he keeps talking about his units. It's disturbing.
Yeah. Oh, hi, kitty. Sorry, I have a cat here. It's weird because Measuring Man is this a middle-aged guy with Clark Kent glasses, with MM in a weirdo pseudo Superman symbol on his chest. So he's clearly modeled after George Reeves as Superman.
Yeah.
Because that's what was cool in the 50s.
Yeah.
But even in the 50s, he has his utility belt, right? Superman did not have a utility belt, okay? Batman has a utility belt.
Yeah, come on, guys.
Get it right, Measuring Man, you idiot. But the assortment of, and this is probably going to dominate, the substance of the conversation here because it's just so very difficult to not notice. It's just like all the things that Measuring Man has that have nothing to do with measuring. I think he has like a ruler. He has a bedazzled ruler for some reason. But and he has handcuffs, obviously, like you said, and other various things. And I think he has a clock in the middle of it for some stupid reason.
Measuring time, right?
Yeah.
That counts. I think he has a
suppose.
whisk.
As we said before, the one thing that is just right there the whole time is this bedazzled dildo. And it's impossible to ignore.
Yeah. Oh, and they definitely pointed out a couple times. Because how could you not?
Yeah, you don't want to go. I mean, come on. Would you want to go there?
No way.
No, it's just like, hey, look at me. I'm Measuring Man, and I have this phallic device hanging off my belt.
Come on, kid.
Let's learn how to measure, you idiot.
Let's go to my secret world where it's just the two of us, and I'll show you my thermometer.
It's like I have some bunnies here. You want to come see my bunnies? So,
tell me about the rabbits.
Tell me about the rabbits, George.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you need to watch. They did release it separately. You can't get it just the short from the live show, but there's no need to because you really should have the whole Miami Connection experience because this movie is something else.
Yeah.
Miami Connection was an independent movie starring YK Kim, Grandmaster YK Kim, who wrote and produced it.
You can tell.
Yeah. Along with all of the students from his dojo. They were all the actors and
even the guys with the full beards.
I do believe so.
And they're all yelling their lines.
because they had a lot of students at the time. And yeah, there's some really interesting things about this movie that don't really have, they're not in the movie itself, but just the whole story behind what happened to this movie after it was released and after it was made.
Let's talk about that, because I think everybody's seen Miami Connection and kind of like knows like all the weirdness that goes on.
Yeah, because either they've seen it or they, with the riff, or they've seen it unriffed. And that's kind of a part of this story. The movie was made in 1987. YK Kim, Grandmaster YK Kim, he basically fronted all the money for it. He could not get a distribution company to pick it up.
No.
Because he had no idea what he was doing when it came to making a movie. But
sounds like someone else we know.
Yeah, he borrowed from friends. He took out loans, all of his savings. He mortgaged his taekwondo school. And he ended up...
Dude, no.
It almost bankrupted him completely.
Dude.
He ended up getting it purchased by a small distribution company for $100,000. And as he was shipping it around, everybody was literally telling him, "Don't waste your time, just throw it away. It's trash."
Okay, in their defense, they were not wrong.
You were not wrong. So the movie was released in 8 theaters in Orlando in 1988. Yeah.
Dude, my heart.
It opened in West Germany also.
West Germany.
Yeah. Here we are with West Germany.
I think we've had this conversation before.
Yes. Thank you, Wikipedia. The Orlando Sentinel said that it was the worst film of 1988. It obviously had poor critical reception. It was in theaters for a total of 3 weeks. The movie cost him about $1 million. And like I said, he was almost completely bankrupted. And the movie kind of disappeared after that. There was no way to watch it. Yeah. He said that a period of several years before 2012, people were contacting him to do interviews about it, but he kind of ignored it. And then one of the people who works for the Alamo Draft House in Austin, Texas, found the movie on eBay. He bid on it, and he won it. He screened the film. They got a positive reaction from the crowd, and they reached out to YK Kim to try and get permission to re-release the film. And he thought it was a joke at first. He didn't want to have anything to do with it. He's like, these people are messing with me.
Yeah, I believe it.
Then he finally talked to them, and he's like, okay, let's I was wondering why they wanted to distribute this movie that the public had rejected and Hollywood treated like trash 20 years ago. As a quote from YK Kim. But they ended up getting the rights to re-release it. And
now, when was this?
This was in 2009.
Okay.
Was when he found the movie. And then I believe it came out again in 2012 or somewhere around there. Yeah. Might have been a couple years before that, I guess. So I can't really find a date for it. But it got re-released, and it kind of got that cult following. I actually watched it about a year before they announced they were doing it for RiffTrax. Mm-hmm. And so I knew exactly what to expect. But the film has been called So Bad It's Essential. Mm-hmm. David Schmader of The Stranger wrote that to say Miami Connection is bad is a crushing understatement. Ooh. Miami Connection is so bad it makes The Room look like wild strawberries. And that out of this tragic mess of failure and incompetence, a distinctly sweet spirit emerges. Its source is the oh my gosh, I can't say that word.
Cumulative.
Yes, what he said. It's the good sportsmanship of everyone involved in Miami Connection, and it's drenched in a goofy joy that is contagious. We talk all the time about the movie's character.
Yep.
And
or
this movie,
my favorite word, charm.
Charm, yes. This movie has that in spades. Like, you can tell that they were all trying their hardest. Like, they brought everything they had to this movie. And it comes through. It's not a good movie, but it comes through while you're watching it. YK Kim was actually in one of the theaters in Orlando to watch the RiffTrax live broadcast of it.
Was he?
Yeah, and he was signing autographs for people, and he appreciated that they were bringing it back to movie screens, even though they were making fun of it. He appreciated that they were putting it out, and it would bring joy to people to watch it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But
amazing.
there's one other thing that we discovered, and I had to watch this clip again because I had forgotten how dark it was. But all of the characters in this movie are orphans. Well, all the main characters are orphans. They all live together. And that's actually where one of my favorite riff comes in, when they announce that they all live together. And Kevin goes on a version of Friends for Eternity. Let's see. He has Friends for Eternity, sharing utilities, picking the pubic hair off the soap. You know what happens. And
that's why in the army, we all took our own soap. You don't use the community. We don't have community soap in the army. You know why? Just that reason. Like that. Because I'm not going to put something that touched somebody else's balls on my skin. Not going to happen.
Yeah. But one of the characters, his name is Jim. He gets a letter in the movie that states that they found his father.
Oh my God!
That's almost exactly how he sounds when he reads it. So they're fighting the drug-dealing biker ninjas towards the end of the movie.
God.
And Jim gets hurt pretty bad. So after the fight, they are driving him to the hospital. And in the final cut of the movie, he gets to the hospital, his dad shows up, blah, blah, blah. In this other scene, the original version of the scene, Jim dies on the way to the hospital. And they stop. They stop the car. And while they're mourning that he has passed, an airplane flies overhead. And one of the guys says, "Oh, man, Jim's father is on that plane." And then it shows the plane starting to land. Oh, man, it's so dark. And you can see why they cut it from the final version of the film. But yeah, it's
that's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's not good. It's dark. But the movie itself, we got a couple good songs from Dragon Sound, the band that all the orphans made together. We have Friends, and then we have Against the Ninja, which Dave likes to belt out from time to time.
Against the Ninja.
Much like that. And they actually released the song. I think it was one of the digital goodies you got with the Miami Connection show was the full MP3 of Friends. And that immediately went into my regular rotation playlist, like the one that I just listen to all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That song is still in there, and I still listen to it. My 5-year-old sings along with it now in the car, which is just great to me.
Can't believe it's been 4 years since that was the RiffTrax live selection, because that came out the same summer as, 2015 was just such an awesome year for RiffTrax. Look at the live shows, but you look at stuff that came out that year, like Roller Gator and Julie and Jack and Death Promise. And it's like, it was just such a fantastic, great, fun year for RiffTrax. And Miami Connection was a big, big part of that.
There were definitely a couple good martial arts movies that year.
Also your favorite. Just reminded me, your favorite.
No Retreat, No Surrender. actually came out like a week or two different from the No Retreat, No Surrender came out October 16th, 2015. So right after the live show of Miami Connection. And Death Promise came out the week before the live show for Miami Connection. So they were all right in close proximity with each other.
If we ever get Eric Peterson on the show, Eric Peterson of RiffTrax, if we ever get him on the show, we need to have him tell the story about how he basically influenced Mike Nelson to do Miami Connection. Like he actually, because the story goes, and Eric, if I'm getting this wrong, come onto the show and tell the real version of it. Basically, like he was a big fan of it, and he bought it, and I think he like bought a copy of it for Mike, and he sent it to Mike. And like I guess a couple of weeks went by, and he asked Mike about like, "Hey, did you watch Miami Connection?" And he was like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "So are we gonna do it?" He's like, "No. We're not going to just do it. We're going to do it as one of the live shows."
Nice.
Yeah. So that's a version of a story he told me 4 years ago. So if I'm getting it wrong, I'm not perfect, but I think that's essentially it.
Sounds like a pretty good way to find that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But Miami Connection is definitely one of my favorite live shows. They did do a studio version of the movie,
which is okay. I mean, I bought it.
Yeah. And I mean, you buy everything. Every VOD that comes out, like that day, you're just like, mine. But I guess it's a thing that exists. If you want to save a couple dollars when you buy it, because it is a little bit cheaper than the live show. But me, I always prefer the live show versions, just because I love the energy and the mistakes. And, just the whole crowd reacting to everything. Yeah. It makes me feel more like, I'm watching it with other people.
You know what? And like, I was watching Star Raiders because the Star Raiders VOD of the live show came out on August 9th, 2 days ago. And I was watching it, and I noticed that they had and they do this sometimes with the live shows, is that they have the audience reaction turned down. Like, no. Guys, leave the audience in.
I'm trying to remember. I think that one, the audience was quieter anyway during the broadcast.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I don't think it was something that was done post.
Oh, okay.
I think that's just how it was.
But no, yeah. But yeah, leave the audience in, because that's part of the whole atmosphere, and it's great. I love it. It's why I can watch things like Manos and Jack the Giant Killer just over and over endlessly, because like I just love hearing the reaction at the Belcourt. And I know I've said so many times that seeing RiffTrax live at the Belcourt, seeing RiffTrax live, so there's a double live there.
Yes.
But it wrecked it for me going to see it in the theaters, because every time it comes up, I've told the story so many times, but I see it come up on the screen and I see the Belcourt, and I've been there, and it's like I get angry. It's like, I should be there.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a real place now for me. It's like, ooh, it's like I should be there, but I'm not. And I'm here, sitting here in Ogden like a chump. What is wrong?
Yeah.
I get so mad. But
poor Dave got to go to a live show once.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but speaking of live shows, RiffTrax Live Giant Spider Invasion.
Yes,
is this week.
August 15th, the replay on the 20th. And I just want to say a big thank you to whoever it was that jumped on the RiffTrax.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
The RiffTrax Twitter account. See, as I've mentioned before, I've been dragging my local theater chain quite a bit on Twitter since April, since they screwed everything up for the live shows. And for whatever reason, didn't show any of them in the area, except for the replay of Octoman, which they decided to add to their schedule the day before So of course only like 12 people showed up because nobody knew about it. But that's something else entirely. Anyway, the person running their social media account decided to get a little sarcastic with me the other day after my really terrible week that I had, and I was not having it. And apparently whoever jumped on the RiffTrax Twitter account was not having it either, because they said that we always carry the RiffTrax stuff, so if it's not there, then it must be something that Fathom or RiffTrax did. I'm like, no. I've been in contact with both companies, and they've both told me that it is your fault, not theirs. It's your theater's fault. And then the RiffTrax employee jumped in and basically backed me up on that, and it was quite a good feeling. So whoever that was, thank you very much.
We have a pretty good idea of who it was, but we're not going to say who we think it is.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah.
So let's leave the RiffTrax Live behind us now with one final. If you haven't watched RiffTrax Live Miami Connection, please do yourself a favor and enjoy it.
Yeah, check it out. It's a cornerstone. Welcome back from the edit.
Now we're going to move on to one of my very, very, very favorite RiffTrax releases of all time, Ghosthouse.
So raise a glass and toast the Ghost House. All ye, let's drink up something. And then I could just go on, but to the Ghost House.
Yes, to the Ghost House.
Woo! Wait, hold on. I gotta go get some chili. I'm gonna go get some chili. Hang on. Can
bring me some?
Can you stop the podcast for a minute, or just like put it on hold while I go and get some chili and come back?
Let's go get your chili.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm back.
Yes. But Ghost House is another very interesting story, and I'm not just talking about the plot of the movie.
Which is quite interesting.
Yes, it is quite interesting. But the backstory behind this, to me, is a little more interesting. So this movie was one of those Italian horror films.
Oh, that was written by Italians for Americans, written in English, and shot in America. Yet somehow it looks like it doesn't look like it was shot in America at all.
No.
It's written in English. Most of the actors are American.
Most.
You could tell that, but you would think that they're aliens, like reading like English words.
Yes.
It's just it, and the sound. They dub it again for no reason. And the dub is just like slightly. You can tell that it's not the same track that they recorded with.
I'll never understand why they do this.
And it makes it look like a foreign. It makes a movie that was shot in English, completely in English.
Yep.
Makes it look like a foreign language film that was dubbed into English.
Yeah, it's really bizarre, and they do it a lot. Basically all of these Italian horror movies that we get,
like The Last Shark.
Yeah, The Last Shark, Rats. What is it? 1990 Bronx Warrior.
Yep.
And this one, Ghost House, and it's just bizarre. I don't understand it, but this. Can I just say?
I have probably seen Ghost House. I'm not even kidding. No exaggeration here whatsoever. About 50 billion times.
The first time I watched Ghost House, I was at work. I was on my break, and I pulled out my phone, and I just decided, you know what? I'm going to sit down and I'm going to start watching Ghost House. And within the first couple minutes, I was in love with this movie. Like the whole first kill with the guy, the old man dad, and the hatchet to the head of the dummy is, I love it so much. It made me laugh so hard. But this movie was released as a part of a series called the La Casa series, which is translated to The House. Now, the first two movies...
Is that like The Room?
I hope not. The first two movies in this series were The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. So then they decided when they made Ghosthouse that they would change the title of the film to be La Casa 3 and put it as a sequel to the Evil Dead movies.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's most definitely not. But they continued this trend for 4 more movies. They had La Casa 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now, La Casa 4 is, Dave?
Is Witchery.
Starring
David Hasselhoff and Catherine Hickland.
The 5th movie in the La Casa series is a film called Beyond Darkness, which
I can't find that one.
And then the last 2 movies were House 2, The Second Story, and The Horror Show, which was also branded as House 3. So it's a very weird series
like Rambo.
of films.
It's First Blood 2, Rambo 3, Rambo, and then Last Blood.
But those were at least, related to each other.
Yeah.
So Ghosthouse. This is a movie about, well, most importantly, it's about Jim Dalen.
Yeah.
Who's got his camper out front, and he's there with his brother and his girlfriend, and also his sister Tina is there. But of course, none of them are the main characters.
I'm Jim Dalen.
Yes.
I always get a chuckle when Jim Dalen is brought up.
And they still do that every once in a while in a riff.
Yep.
They'll bring up good old Jim Dalen.
I will cheer when they do that.
But the movie is really about Paul and Martha. Paul is a ham radio operator in Boston. And one of the first things that we hear from him is asking, who's more popular in Denver?
Kim Basinger or Kelly LeBrock? And we never find out.
No, we never find out. So right now, from the time that this podcast has gone live, up through, we'll give it 3 days. We're going to be running a poll on Twitter at TBRiffcast to find out who is more popular in Denver, Kim Basinger or Kelly LeBrock.
And anybody can vote in it. It's not just up to the people in Denver because we're telling them who's more popular in their city. They don't get to choose. We get to choose.
We get to choose. Damn
yeah,
it.
That's what this is.
But Paul hears a weird message on his ham radio, and it's actually Jim Dalen.
Jim Dalen dying horribly.
Yes.
He's getting
by horribly
his throat slit.
We don't mean the manner in which he dies. We mean the manner in which he acted out his death.
he gets his throat slit by an electric fan blade.
With no motor.
Yeah.
And it's not plugged in.
I can't even.
It's so ridiculous, this whole thing. And of course, there's a demonic clown toy.
Oh, right, yeah.
And a little girl holding it, and they're the ones causing all of this ruckus. And there's actually a good reason for why this is happening.
Really?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, because her dad he worked at the mortuary.
Uh-huh.
And he would take stuff from the deceased that they were supposed to be buried with. And one of these items that he took was this clown doll that was supposed to be buried with a little girl, and he gives it to his own daughter.
What a freak.
And that possesses the daughter. The very first thing that she does at the start of this movie is she murders the cat. And I'm not entirely certain that was not a real cat.
Yeah.
Some of the things in this movie.
Dude, but the riff on that cat, I know we usually don't like quote riffs, but from Mike, Kevin, and Bill, I think it was the dad says to her, like, "You've killed one of God's innocent creatures," and then Mike goes, "No, it was a cat."
Yes. And you know what? I have cats. I like cats, but cats are assholes. Like,
Yep, I have. Well, I used to have 2 cats, but one of them very selfishly died. Yeah, I'm still holding a grudge on that one 6 months later.
but yeah, there's a lot of great and highly quotable riffs in this film, but there's a scene towards the end where a being shows up with a mask on, which is terrible, and it's great because you can see whoever's wearing it, you can see their eyes through the eye sockets of this skull mask, but it is covered in maggots.
Yeah,
And those are most definitely real maggots. Like, they're not. It's not an effect. They literally poured maggots all over this mask. It's disturbing, to say the least.
Yeah, it's there's a lot about this movie we could go on and on and on about, but I think like the one thing, like my favorite character, I mean even more than Jim Dalen.
I know who you're gonna say.
My favorite character is Pepe.
No.
What do you mean? No, you don't like Pepe?
No, I've never happier when I'm watching a movie than when a character that I can't stand gets killed. And so when we find dead Pepe, oh, I'm so happy.
Well, who did you think I was gonna say?
No, I knew that's who you were gonna say.
Oh, okay. I thought you would be like, oh, I wanted to talk about the evil murdering janitor.
Yeah, it's like, okay, what's his motivation to kill?
Oh, he's just a psycho.
He was just nuts.
Hey, he was bound to go off his rocker eventually. They even said it in the movie.
Yes, they did. Yeah, they make it a point. He smashes dude's head in with a hammer and stuffs him into a coffin.
Yep. And stabs Jim Dalen's brother with a pitchfork.
Yep. Right in his favorite tendon.
That never seems to get addressed.
No.
And then he tries to kill
Martha? Susan?
Yeah. No, Susan was
she was the maggot face.
Yeah, she was yeah.
Maggot face. Yeah, Martha gets trapped in the little crypt.
Yeah, and in this giant deep cave. Like, okay, let's talk about that for a second. Okay. At the ending of this movie, there's a huge, like, deep cavern in this graveyard that's supposed to be a crypt, but it's clearly it's like the Bat Cave, you know. It's
or it's House of the Shire, like
it's like what? It's like, and then you have to go like traverse like a mile deep into the earth to get to this girl's grave, who hasn't decomposed at all. Right. And the clown doll is in there. And another one of the very highly memorable, they have a gas can there. And Paul, he pours gasoline all over the corpse of the girl and the doll. And he throws a match in there. And Mike says, if you find yourself, basically says, if you find yourself in this situation, you may want to take stock of some of the choices you've made in your life. You know? Yeah.
And then he just stands there in this cave over the burning gasoline and bodies, and everything else that's happening like in the house just stops and literally just bloops away.
Yeah, so it's like, see, now I could never tell, and they talk about this in the riff as well. Was it a day for night or like?
It has to be, because it was dark at the house. And it was kind of blue at the graveyard. Okay. So it's got to be just a really bad, which most of them are anyway, but a really bad day for night shot. And because everything just kind of stops. The maggot face monster poofs away. The projection of the little girl and the clown doll kind of poof away. And Susan leaves, and Paul and Martha go back to Boston, and
Paul gets hit by a bus.
Yeah, the end.
Or
literally that's the last thing. It's they're meeting up, and Martha sees the clown doll in this like thrift store window, and
the clown changes his face changes to like evil Sharpie teeth.
Yep.
And
he changes the do not walk sign to walk.
And then it turns into Final Destination, and Paul gets creamed by this bus. And then it's just like, no, there's the bus. It'd be like, if you hadn't stopped, if you kept going and not stopped and looked at the bus, you probably would have been fine. It's kind of like the bus was not moving that fast. Yeah, it really was. I mean,
it was on city streets in Boston. It couldn't have been moving that fast.
Yeah, and look, because it's like I just judge by kind of like I'm just going to assume, because I know we heard the crash sound effect, right?
Yeah,
but the bus had to have seen him and stopped.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I mean, logically, Paul's still alive. But I mean, I know the movie. I mean, we didn't see him get hit by the bus.
This movie has nothing to do with logic, Dave.
Yeah. So I guess the doll got him.
Yep. But Martha was still alive.
Yeah.
So at least one person, well, two, because, we assume that Susan is still alive, but.
Yeah. Survivor girls.
Yeah. But yeah, Ghosthouse is, the effects and how they're handled and just every single thing about this movie is perfectly, it's that right kind of terrible. Mm-hmm. Where you actually kind of like it. Like, I've watched Ghosthouse riffed countless times.
Me too.
But
I mean,
I own the DVD of it, and the DVD has the movie unriffed.
Wow.
And really? I've actually watched it unriffed.
I need that mess.
And got almost the same level of enjoyment out of it. Well, a lot of that, though, is because I'm sitting there watching it and I'm remembering the riffs in my head for it as it goes. But
be like, there's one riff that I love. It's like one of their first bleeped riffs. They're talking about the police guy who's investigating what's going on.
Yeah.
Or rather, not investigating it, or telling them to, hey, stop trespassing, you stupid a-holes. You guys are the reason. If you hadn't been trespassing, Jim Dalen wouldn't have died.
Yeah.
But he was the only corpse for a long time.
And then the detective just leaves.
Yeah.
His car.
But like the joke was to be like, oh yeah, his name is Baker, I think. Be like, Paul says, Baker's full of shit. He should be helping little old ladies cross the street. And then Kevin says, like people who are full of shit are supposed to do.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good one.
I love that one.
It doesn't have the same awesome bleep effect that those lines did just now in the podcast, but
yeah. But yeah, I know, but this is why you had to go spend the $10 and get Ghosthouse. Yes. I remember the first time I saw Ghosthouse. This was 2012, so this was the first. It was actually the first VOD of 2012. I think we had gotten a couple other. We had gotten Captain America and Rise of Planet of the Apes just prior to this in 2012. It was pretty early. It was January or February. But I remember getting this one, and we had a bunch of VODs in 2011. We had Buffalo Rider. We'd had a lot of Cornerstone VODs already. We had Cradle Lake Monster and a whole bunch of really, really good stuff. But Ghosthouse, I don't know. There was just something about it that, like, I remember watching it, and I remember turning it, like, immediately when it ended, I started it again. and I was just like, this is great.
Yeah.
This is like what RiffTrax, I kind of felt like this is what RiffTrax at its best, at its very best is. And I've never once gotten tired of Ghosthouse.
Same. It's one that I can constantly go back to, and still just laugh as hard as I did the first time.
It's an essential. I mean, it's also very underrated. I mean, like we get callbacks for it. It's not heralded like The Room or Birdemic.
Yeah.
Or Miami Connection or Roller Gator or like any of those. Even Fun and Balloon Land, I guess. But like, no, dude. But Ghosthouse, to understand Ghosthouse is to understand RiffTrax. I think.
If there was a movie, if I had one chance to convert people to RiffTrax, Ghosthouse would probably be one of my first choices.
Yeah, same. I'll be like,
I actually, when I rewatched this yesterday in preparation for the podcast today, I actually watched it with my son. He's watched some RiffTrax stuff with me. He's gone to a few of the live shows, and I told him that nothing that he has watched before will prepare him properly for Ghosthouse. And being able to sit there and watch his reaction to the things that I knew were coming and the jokes, and it was a great experience. And that's part of the reason why I like Ghosthouse so much, because I always get those reactions from people when I get them to watch it.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to get people to watch stuff like this, but like when you do and you can like see like that reaction, it's a thing of beauty. You know, do you want to know what Ghosthouse has going in its favor? No continuous acoustic guitar.
Yes, that is very good. No guitar noodling over 97% of the film. That's
Ghosthouse.
Go buy it if you have never seen it.
It is a fantastic one. It is I would put this definitely in my top 5, I think. Or at the very least in the top 10. I don't know how it gets out of the top. I mean, like, I think putting it at number 10 would be putting it very low on the list, honestly. I think it's definitely single digits.
I think the last time I actually tried to do a top 10, Ghosthouse was ranked number 3, behind No Retreat, No Surrender, obviously, and another one of our favorites that is actually going to be on our listener poll coming up this week, The Last Slumber Party.
Oh, The Last Slumber Party. Oh, are we putting The Last Slumber Party on the poll?
Yes, we are, Dave. I just made that decision right now.
I was about to say, I mean, I'll be like, we had a discussion about it. I don't remember The Last Slumber Party, but I guess it's on there now. So, hey, guess what?
Yes. The other 2 choices for you to vote on will be Little Shop of Horrors and the Carnival of Souls live show.
Yeah. Now, the other one that we I thought was going to be on there was the Apple, but I guess we'll save the Apple for another time.
Yeah, the Apple will slide in the following listener poll. Now, this time it will only be on our Twitter at TB Riffcast.
Okay.
Simply because I put it in 3 locations before. I put it on the Twitter account. I put it in the True Blue group on Facebook. And I also put it in the regular RiffTrax fan group.
Yeah.
But the rate at which that group specifically moves, like there's a new post like constantly. You just refresh it and there's like a whole page of new posts. And it's incredibly difficult to keep up with. Because if nobody comments on it or whatever, then I don't have like a notification to click on to find it. So I'm just going to...
It just gets lost, yeah.
It's going to be just on the Twitter page for the podcast. And we'll link to it in the True Blue group and the regular RiffTrax group, just so people there can actually vote also. I look forward to seeing which one wins this time. Any of them, again, are going to be a hoot to discuss and watch again. And yeah, I think that's going to be it for today.
Yep.
I'm Jeremy. You can find me at pbandawesome.com. If you want to send me an email, you can do so at jeremy@trueblueriffcast.com. You can also visit us at trueblueriffcast.com, and we've got links for all of the different podcast services which you can find the Riffcast. And also you can follow it on Twitter at TBRiffcast.
And I'm Dave. And you can check me out at sugarraydodge.com. And you can send me emails at dave@trueblueriffcast.com.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, Miami Connection.